And shalom, 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 Akims. First and foremost, giving all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem El-Shah, Ba'ashem HaKodash, giving double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, salutation, all you sincere Akims across the four winds, pushing this truth and sincerity of heart. I'm your fellow servant, Kasama from the DC camp, and I'm coming at you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem El-Shah, Ba'ashem HaKodash. Salaki Akims, if I sound a little hoarse, I'm a little under the weather, but, it's all through the spirit. Still got to push this word. And I just want to make, hopefully, a quick spiritual hit. And I probably entitled this video, this lesson, Persecution in the Midst of Chaos. Remember the words. And as you see right here, this is RT News, Russia Today. And it says, this title, it says, "We won't forget. Democrats cheer, Republicans jeer after Trump impeachment vote." Basically, as you you should know, the impeachment process on Donald Trump's presidency has passed the votes and on the House of Democrats. So now it's being sent to the Senate, which the Senate is ran by the Republicans. So for the impeachment process to go, of course, the House. Not the Senate will have to pass on it. Will have to sign off on it. But they're not, of course, they're not going to do that. And when they don't do that, I believe, of course, a clash is going to come through that because the Democrats, that's their last chance to pretty much remove Trump out of office. And they've already pretty much given a lot of optimism to people that are, consider themselves Democrats, and they've already pretty much made them feel like it's going to go down. And when they realize that it won't, this thing could turn into a civil war, And of course, if it passes the House, the Senate, you'll definitely have a civil war. So either way, this thing is gonna get ugly. Okay, but the thing is, in the midst of that, and you can read the article because it tells you about how everything, the details of the impeachment process and so on and so forth. But what I want to focus on is that in the midst of this chaos that's going to erupt, the civil war that's going to erupt, and, which this is all prophecy. Right? This is all prophesied in the scriptures. Okay? In the midst of all this chaos, I believe through the Spirit, that's when, the persecution is going to start getting really heavy. Because when you look into the history, going back into the even during the time of the Romans, when the Romans were pulling up and harassing and arresting, and really not the Roman, when the wicked priest, the wicked high priests were pulling up and arresting, the disciples and all that. It was chaos in Israel, because you had rebel groups like the Sicaries and certain other groups of carnal Israelites that wanted to take down Rome and by carnal means. So while you had all that chaos kind of distracted everybody, most people, then that was a good time to pretty much move on the people that the high priest and also Rome felt like were the true adversary to the empire, which was Yahushua and the disciples. And after Yahushua was taken out, they kept pursuing after the disciples. So I believe through the Spirit, there's going to be the same thing. The persecution is going to come about, I believe, through the Spirit when the Civil War kicks in. Because then it'll be a lot easier for the government and their representatives to make their moves, So that's why we have to go to the precepts, and that's why the title of the video says what? That, the persecution in the midst of chaos, remember the words, because we got to remember the words of the Lord, because it's all prophecy. This is what's going to keep us stable because we have an advantage. We know what's going to happen before it happens. Okay? We preach it all the time. So now the time to live these prophecies is coming, man. It's going to be a scary time because it's going to go down. It's going to go down hard and fast. So you got to remember the words. The Spirit of the Lord better be with you so you can remember the words. All right? So this is Matthew chapter 10, verse 17. It says, "But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in the synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. So some brothers going to be held and hemmed up. If some brothers going to be held, right? And some brothers going to be able to flee, as it's going to say when I read later on down in the chapter. So brothers have to remember the words. If you happen to be one of the ones who's arrested and questioned, and again, I believe through the Spirit that while these things go, this is going down, it's gonna be chaos in the streets. At least a certain amount of chaos in the streets. You know, maybe civil war, and it might be a civil war that hasn't really going up to the next stage, which will be a race war. But it will be some sort of, chaos in the streets, because throughout history, that's how it's always been. It's rarely do you have the government move on a group of people or sect or anything that they feel like is opposition. They always use a time of kind of chaos or distraction, to move on people that they feel like are the true opposition to to the standing power, so to speak. So when you read Matthew 10 and 18, I believe through the Spirit, while this is happening to us, it'll be chaos in the streets, man. All right. It says, verse 20, it says, for it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. Verse 21, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child. And think about this. You're going to be delivered to death if the nation was in peaceful terms, right? When you wake up in the morning, there's no chaos, no civil war, no race wars. The government couldn't just come out and grab you up and without having a proper day in court, just put you to death like that. It would have to be a situation where the state of the nation has changed and it's gotten more chaotic, and that's how the government can then move and do some of these things. You can't do this, especially when you call yourself the United States of America, who's all about humanitarian this and making sure everybody got a day in court. Then you can't move like this, the way the scripture is saying. So for you to move like this, that means chaos is erupting. So that's why I believe that the persecution is really going to kick in when the Civil War kicks in. When the Civil War / race war kicks in, that's when they're going to move on us, because the majority of the populace is going to be distracted by something that's real, which is the race wars. Okay? Because they can't persecute us while society is still in a peaceful state like this, because then they would have to break a lot of the constitutional amendments and explain why they're breaking the constitutional amendments, and they just will have no answers, because they will have to answer to the people. Okay, so they are going to create chaos so they can move on us. Matthew 10 and 23, but when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. And these are words that you need to remember through the Spirit. If you're men of the Lord and elect of Yasha'Allah, 1/3, so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans from the different tribes, Judah all the way down to Issachar. If you're part of the elect, the Lord is going to make you remember these words. For the brothers that are not going to be arrested, it says, but when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. Why? Because there's going to be more work to do. Right? It says the disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. All right. So the next precept that I have is 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 12. It says, yea, and all that will live godly in the Mashiach Yahushua shall suffer persecution. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, persecution is coming. We know it. This lesson really is the pretty much, because again, it's all about prophecy. It's all about gauging the what, the when, the where, and it's having that edge. That's the edge that we have. Through Yahushua HaMashiach, it's the prophecy. All right. So it's about gauging about approximately through the Spirit when this thing could really, it's going to go down, man. And I believe through the Spirit that, the persecution is going to kick in when the Civil War breaks out, because the populace has to be distracted by some chaotic events, so that the government can do what they have to do. They can break the laws and break their own laws. All right. Just like when you had the situation with 9/11. With 9/11, the government was able to break their laws. Remember Watergate said torture. Why? Because you had 9/11, which was a big thing. It got the populace scared and distracted. So the government used that situation to break rules, Patriot Act, and it's not going to be any different. They know they can't just move on us the way society is right now, because then they would have to answer to the people, and the government knows they can't. They can't rightfully and truthfully answer to the people about their actions. Okay. So 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 12, it says, if we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he also will deny us. So in that time, you're gonna have to prove that you're rocking with Yahushua all the way. Even if they gotta snatch your life, then hey, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But at this point, brothers, man, we understand we far too gone, man. The Lord has shown us way too much. The genie is out the bottle. You can't go back. You know what I'm saying? You've seen the vanity of this place, and you've seen this thing crumble, over the years. And it's just like, might as well, you know what I'm saying? And you willing and you ready, you know what I'm saying, to put your life on the line for righteousness, for Yahweh Bashim Yahshua's name's sake, and for the elect's sake. So we can just go home and start afresh. 2 Timothy 2:13, it says, if we believe not, yet he abideth faithfully. And the ones who don't believe, which is the 2/3, it's not going to change, Yahushua and where Yahushua brings forth, which is faith. He cannot deny himself. Yahushua cannot deny himself, meaning he is the author of that, of our faith, man. He is. He cannot. That's just what he was created to do. So we can have hope. All right. He is hope. So for the 2/3, hey, if his hope can't help you, it's not gonna, change it, Lord. Okay. Everybody has a lot. His lot as the only begotten Son of the Heavenly Father Yahweh is to be the hope of Yasha'Allah. All right. Luke 9:26, it says, for whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed. Like this, for brothers that get hemmed up, get arrested, you try to brainstorm how you gonna be slick and all that other stuff. Nah, man, because you can do all that brainstorming, that shows fear. You gotta have faith. Remember the words. The Lord is gonna speak through you. And you go out there and then you all of a sudden become ashamed because you fear that you're gonna be put in jail or you might be put to death. Then that means you never really have faith in the Lord, because your faith has got to be great. And through your faith, these mountains, these governments will be moved if you just believe in Yahushua. Okay, he's stronger than these governments, man. He's stronger than the American government. He's stronger than the French, the German, Russian government. Okay, it says, when he shall come in his glory and in his fathers and of the holy angels. But I tell you of a truth, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of the Most High. And that's what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm going to start at 25. Let me go back to 25. As a matter of fact, let me go back to 23. It says, Luke 9:23. And he said to them, and he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. And this cross and this burden is something you pick up daily. You know what I'm saying? And that's something you just got to do, following our master, Yahushua. Verse 24, it says, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it. I mean, if you're trying to save your breath, right? If you're trying to save your physical breath, which is oxygen, save, yourself from your oxygen being stopped from coursing through your body. If you're trying to sell out just for that, and that's going to be temporary, because either way, you're still going to die for betraying the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Real life, you're a spiritual man. You know, when you're a spiritual man, you understand like you see things differently. You know, real oxygen is this truth. The real wind, the real breath is this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You know, you can breathe through your nostrils, but not have the breath of life. Esau can take your physical breath, your carnal breath, but he can't take your spiritual breath. And you have to understand that. And because of that, and since the spirit never dies, the spirit would always come back for vengeance. So even if he has to take us out, we will come back through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahshua. We will come back for vengeance. Okay. Verse 25, for what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world and lose himself and be cast away? So what's the advantage if you gain the world? Because that's going to be temporarily. When you take that microchip, that mark of the beast, it's going to be temporarily. You're going to lose yourself because you're selling your soul, and then you're going to be cast away. Because the thermonuclear missiles that's coming to destroy this place, you're not going to be able to escape, man. Verse 26, it says, for whosoever shall be ashamed of me and of my words, of him shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he shall come in his own glory and in his Father's and of the holy angels. Okay, so now the next two precepts that I had was 2 Ezra 15. But let's let this load. There you go. 2 Ezra 15, and I'm gonna start at 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction drove near. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. And that's talking about civil war, race wars, in particular race wars and different type of wars. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. That's going to be survival of the fittest out here, man. All right, it says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. So some brothers gonna be stuck because that's the will of the Lord. Some brothers gonna be able to flee, but the Spirit is gonna be with you to tell you what your lot is. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And the pride of America. Man, the pride of Edom, Esau, the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of. The pride of the Israelite woman, all right, the so-called black woman, so-called Hispanic woman, so-called Native American woman. The pride of the heathens, all right, the so-called Chinese and so on and so forth. All of these wicked spirits, man. There's going to be a major clash here in America, man. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be bad. Okay? And I believe that it's through that chaos. It's during that chaos that the government's going to begin the next level of persecution, moving on brothers, the good old pulling up on the brother 2 o'clock in the morning and all that other stuff, and they're putting you in a van and all that. I mean, who's going to check for you? People out here, fighting, killing each other in the streets because of a race war, civil war. They ain't really sitting there thinking about a Hebrew Israelite that just got snatched up in the middle of the night. So Esau knows what he's doing, man. But it's all good though. It's all through spirit. We understand it. We've been ready for it. You know what I'm saying? We just know the Lord is going to be with us through it all. All right. Verse 19, and man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And again, when it comes to moving, like I say, you gotta remember the words. Just like when the Lord said, back in Matthew 24, when he, when Matthew goes into the besiege of Jerusalem in 70 AD, the Lord said, ye that be You know what I'm saying? And out in the cities, flee to the mountains. You know, don't come back to grab anything. Just flee to the mountains. But you got some jakes that stayed out there, stayed in the city. They got fucked up. You know, because they didn't remember. You got to remember the words, man. That's why we giving the words. The words of the Spirit. And this is what it says. In John 3:6, it says. Actually, actually, I would just want to go to the point. John 3:8, it says, the wind bloweth where it listeth. And that's how we're going to be. Most brothers are going to be moving like the wind. You know, and the wind is the Spirit. So you got to move with the Spirit, man. John 3:8, it says, the wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell when it cometh and whither it goeth. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. So all the sincere Akins is born of the Spirit. We're going to be moving like the wind. You know, the ones of us that's going to be locked up in these interrogation rooms and concentration camps and all that, you know, brothers that's going to be martyrs, you know, that's going to be a lot. But some brothers going to be in concentration camps for temporary reasons, you know, for preaching the word to a few elect, and then the angel get you up out of there. You know what I'm saying? So you just don't know, but we're going to be in the move. We're going to be like the Spirit, man. All right? Because we're born of the Spirit. So that's basically what I want to bring forth, you know. It went a little longer than I thought, but like I said, when I read this, and we know how the exposure and to set up false flag operations, to set up the persecution, vocab, accelerating the demonization of Israel. So all the actors are playing their roles. The politicians are playing their role, and I believe that this big setup is to start the persecution of Yasha Allah of Israel, and to do that you have to have a nation in chaos to a certain extent. So I believe that we really are near the civil war, which will turn into a race war, and then the persecution. All right, so with that, I'm going to say, Kah Halam La Yahweh, Bashim Al Shah, Bashim Hakodash, giving double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, salutation to all you sincere Akims across the four winds, pushing this truth with sincerity of heart. I'm your fellow servant, Kasama Gan from the DC camp. Say Shalom.